Baba Vanga's Whispering Sky. Vision begins in June 2025 and ends with a vanishing power. Predictions for 2025. Not all endings begin with thundersome, begin with a whisper. Baba Vanga, the blind seer of the Balkans, spoke of a time when the sky would grow still and a great power would vanish without warning. That time, she said, begins in June 2025. No explosions, no headlines, just a quiet unraveling like fog lifting, like belief fading. Is it a nation, a system, or something even deeper within us? As strange signs appear around the world, a mysterious hum, shifting skies, shared dreams, we must ask, what if the most powerful collapse is the one we don't see coming? Let's listen. Let's begin. Number 1. The core, the prophecy. There are moments when the world changes not with a roar, but with a whisper, subtle, almost invisible to the untrained mind. Baba Vanga, the blind seer of the Balkans, spoke of such a time in her mysterious and often cryptic visions. Among her many predictions, one has begun to draw renewed attention: the Whispering Sky prophecy, said to begin in June 2025. Unlike other forecasts filled with fire, flood, or political chaos, this one unfolds quietly, yet shakes the foundation of global power. It begins with a sky so clear, so blue, and so unnaturally still that it feels almost unreal. And it ends, as Baba Vanga foretold, with the disappearance of a power so vast, so dominant, that its absence will leave the world disoriented and uncertain. This is not simply the fall of a nation or a leader, it is the collapse of something we thought permanent, something that held up the modern order. According to whispers from those who spent her final days near her, caretakers, visitors, and even foreign dignitaries, Vanga kept a separate record of visions too disturbing or too symbolic to share with the public. These secret writings pointed repeatedly to a date, June 17, 2025. In these prophecies, she described signs that would precede the Great Vanishing. She said, "The sun will seem closer, hotter, yet dimmer," a contradiction that defies logic, suggesting not just a shift in nature, but in perception. Clouds will gather without reason. Birds will falter mid-flight. Even the natural order, which has always followed rhythm and reason, will begin to unravel. But perhaps the most haunting line of her vision was this: people will begin to hear a strange tonier hum or vibration in their dreams. It will start faintly, then rise. Not everyone will hear it. Only those with the eyes to see and the ears to feel. This is a powerful metaphor for inner awareness, for the rare few who are still enough, quiet enough, and open enough to sense the deeper truths beneath surface reality. These are not just eerie words from a long-past mystic, they are a call to pay attention. Vanga's reference to "the eye above watches," and when the whisper comes, the eye will close, hints at something larger than human institutions, perhaps the shutdown of a powerful surveillance or intelligence force, or a metaphysical presence that has guided or watched over us. The watchers will panic, the sky will shiver like skin before the blade. This line paints a chilling picture. Those who have held power through observation and control will be thrown into chaos, and the very heavens will seem to tremble in response. It's not merely poetic, it's a spiritual and emotional signal that something irreversible is at hand. Number 2. Theories about the vanishing power. They say power disappears not always with a bang, but sometimes with a whisper, and Baba Vanga, the blind mystic of Bulgaria, gave a haunting glimpse into just such a future. Her vision of a vanishing power, beginning in June 2025, does not warn us of missiles or revolutions, but something much quieter and possibly more unsettling. According to her prophecy, this power does not fall dramatically, like a toppled statue or a city in flames. Instead, it dissolves, slowly and silently, like fog lifting from a valley, leaving behind nothing but emptiness where dominance once stood. Think about that for a moment. Can something so mighty truly disappear without a trace? Vanga believed so. She described this process as a subtle unraveling, a disappearance that the world wouldn't even notice until it was already complete. There would be no war to mark its end, no victory cry from an enemy, just a gradual loss of relevance, of influence, and eventually of memory. Theories about who or what this vanishing power might be have kept many guessing. While she never directly named the country, she offered eerie clues, references to cold lands, which could point to a physically frozen place or perhaps a nation emotionally distant from the rest of the world. Mentions of metal birds, likely hinting at advanced aircraft or military technology, and the chilling phrase, "a tower built on trembling stone," symbolizing a great power whose foundations, whether moral, political, or structural, are deeply unstable. Some believe this could refer to the United States, a nation known for its technological might and towering symbols of global power. Others suggest Russia, a country both cold in climate and historically marked by upheaval and uncertainty. But what if this prophecy is not about a country at all? What if it's about something far more difficult to grasp, something abstract that holds the world together, yet remains invisible in everyday life? More recent interpretations suggest that Vanga was speaking about systems, not flags. A financial empire, held together by trust and digital promises, could collapse without a single soldier marching. A technological dominacion that thrives on the world's dependence on software, data, and machines could vanish the moment the world loses faith in its safety or fairness. Or maybe she foresaw the fading of an ideology, a worldview that once united people and nations but now feels outdated, divisive, or simply untrustworthy. In this view, the vanishing is not a defeat but a loss of belief. And when the belief goes, so does the power. What's especially striking is how Vanga described the process. Not violent, not explosive, but like vapor in the sunlight, an empire that simply fades. She warned, "A king will remain, but his people will forget his face." Could this be a warning for our time? Could we be watching a great force slowly become irrelevant, its name still spoken but its meaning hollow? When influence rests on perception and perception begins to shift, how long can power survive? Now, let's pause and ask ourselves, what truly holds power in our world today? Is it weapons, wealth, or is it trust, unity, and shared belief? And if those things begin to erode, silently, without headlines or alarms, would we even notice before it's too late? This prophecy invites us to reflect deeply, not just on nations or systems, but on our personal lives too. What foundations do we build on? Are we chasing illusions of control, or are we nurturing what truly lasts? The lesson here is simple, yet profound. Real power, lasting power, is not in domination, but in integrity. It doesn't come from fear, but from trust. If we lose the values that give meaning to influence, like truth, compassion, fairness, we risk becoming like the vanishing empire Vanga foresaw. So, let's ask ourselves, what kind of power are we building? And will it still matter when the fog lifts and only what's real remains? Number 3. The current global context, matching signs. As June 2025 approaches, an unsettling number of global developments appear to echo Baba Vanga's whispering sky vision. What once seemed cryptic or symbolic now feels eerily plausible, rooted not just in mysticism, but in science, shared human experience, and emerging global patterns. 1. The rising mystery of the global hum. Since late 2024, reports of a persistent, low-frequency sound known as the global hum have surged across the world. From urban centers in England and Japan to remote villages in Africa, people are describing the same auditory experience. A deep, droning hum, like a distant engine or heartbeat, with no identifiable source. What makes this even more haunting is that many people hear it not with their ears, but in their dreams. It resonates as a feeling, more vibration than sound. Scientists have struggled to explain it. No geological, atmospheric, or technological cause has been universally accepted. But Baba Vanga warned of just such a phenomenon, a sound that would emerge from the place between earth and heaven, signaling the beginning of the unraveling. Is this hum the whisper she spoke of? 2. Solar activity and a sky in flux. Science offers its own ominous signals. NASA has forecast that Solar Cycle 25, expected to peak in 2025, could be one of the most intense in decades. We're already seeing increasing solar flares and geomagnetic disturbances phenomena capable of disrupting satellites, communication systems, navigation networks, and even power grids. Vanga often mentioned the sun in her predictions, claiming it would blink, change colors, and even dance with confusion. If these solar disruptions intensify, they could destabilize the very technologies upon which modern civilization depends, especially the power structures tied to communication and control of the skies. A collapse not from war, but from sudden technological blindness would align perfectly with her prophecy. 3. Astrological alignments and ancient warnings. Astrologers, too, are watching the skies. A rare planetary formation, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus in triangular alignment, with Pluto on the periphery, is set to occur in mid-June 2025. Some call it the Black Crown alignment, a formation historically associated with dramatic shifts, the collapse of old empires, and the birth of new eras. Vanga had deep respect for the stars, viewing them as the universe's handwriting. She believed planetary movements could signal global transformation. In this case, the celestial choreography aligns with her timeline and her theme, a silent but powerful change, beginning above and rippling down. If the message of the whispering sky stirred something in you, don't stay silent. Comment, "Awakened by the sky," and let the world know you're ready for the changes coming in 2025. Keep watching. What comes next might just reveal the truth hidden between the stars and silence. Number 4. Spiritual and collective awakening. Beyond celestial events and technological vulnerabilities, Baba Vanga's prophecy speaks to something far deeper, an awakening not just of the planet, but of the human spirit. In the months leading up to June 2025, there has been a noticeable shift in global consciousness. Around the world, people from vastly different cultures and backgrounds are reporting eerily similar experiences. On forums, social media platforms, and in private journals, a growing number of individuals describe vivid, recurring visions of skies changing color, cities dissolving into mist, and voices speaking in unknown tongues. What's striking is not just the content of these visions, but the consistency across geography and language. Many describe a sky turning violet, then silver, before going completely dark. In the silence that follows, a single word is whispered, indecipherable, yet deeply understood on an instinctual level. This shared imagery suggests something beyond coincidence. It hints at a collective subconscious, quietly activating, perhaps responding to the very whisper Baba Vanga foresaw. The sky is not just sending signs, people are beginning to receive them. She once said, "When the sky speaks, it will not speak to ears, it will speak to the mind, and only those ready to hear will understand." This moment, then, is not just about a geopolitical collapse or a shift in power. It may represent the collapse of something more abstract and more vital, the structures of belief, trust, and perception that hold the modern world together. And in their place, something new is trying to emerge. Some interpret this awakening as the beginning of a spiritual renaissance, a time when intuition, inner knowing, and unity take precedence over hierarchy, dominance, and control. Others see it as a warning that unless we learn to truly listen not with our ears, but with our awareness, we may miss the turning point entirely. Perhaps the real vanishing power is not a nation or a system, but our disconnection from each other, from truth, from silence, from the natural rhythms of the earth and sky. Vanga's most chilling metaphor captures this perfectly. A king will remain, but his people will forget his face. In other words, the world may still appear intact on the surface, governments standing, systems running, but underneath, the soul of our civilization could be slipping away. And yet, she also offered hope. After the whisper, she said, a voice would come, no external, but internal, and it would say only two words. Now begin. This may be the true purpose of the whisper, not to end something, but to awaken us to what must come next. Advice: between the whisper and the awakening. Not all warnings come as thunder. Some arrive softly, like a vibration beneath the surface, a chill in the air, a silence that feels louder than sound. Baba Vanga's prophecy of the whispering sky isn't just a prediction of global change, it's an invitation to wake up. While the world searches for signs in the sky, the real message may be waiting within us. If power can vanish without a fight, if a new age can arrive without a sound, then the greatest preparation isn't physical, it's spiritual, emotional, and deeply personal. This is not a call to fear, it's a call to clarity. So ask yourself, when the whisper begins, will you be too distracted to hear it? Or will you be ready, aware, grounded, and strong enough to step into whatever comes next? Here's how we begin. Number 1. Learn to hear the silence. In the modern world, where notifications never stop and our days are filled with the constant buzz of demands, we often lose touch with one of life's deepest sources of wisdom: silence. But silence is not merely the absence of noise, it is the space in which truth gently speaks. The Buddha once said, "Silence is an empty space. Space is the home of the awakened mind." In that silence, beyond words and worries, lies the subtle guidance that can transform our lives. Yet, this guidance doesn't shout, it whispers. So, unless we learn to attune ourselves to the quiet, we risk missing the most meaningful shifts in our heart and mind. In a society that glorifies hustle and endless productivity, many of us have forgotten how to simply sit, breathe, and be. But just like a lake becomes clear when the wind stops, the mind finds clarity in stillness. When you take even a few minutes each day to step back from the chaos, whether by observing the way clouds float across the sky, or by just sitting and feeling your breath, you begin to hear more clearly. You begin to notice the quiet stirrings within you that signal a need for change, for healing, or for courage. These signals often come not in loud declarations, but in the soft pull of intuition, a gentle tug that suggests it's time to grow. It is in these moments, between the noise of the world and the silence of your soul, that true awakening begins. Stillness is not a waste of time. It is a kind of listening that connects us to something larger than ourselves. As Lao Tzu taught, silence is a source of great strength. In that silence, you may remember who you are without all the expectations, the labels, and the pressures that weigh you down. And when you reconnect with that inner stillness, it becomes easier to walk through life with more grace, to respond instead of react, and to meet others with more compassion and less judgment. Our digital age tries to convince us that every moment must be filled with sound, with scrolling, with stimulation. But that is not where wisdom lives. Wisdom, like a seed, takes root in the quiet soil of presence. And just as you wouldn't yell at a flower to grow faster, you must treat your own inner growth with patience and calm. By learning to hear the silence, you create space for life to speak to you in ways you never imagined. Whether it's the peace that settles in after a long breath, or the clarity that arises after sitting quietly under a tree, these small moments hold the essence of real transformation. Thich Nhat Hanh often reminded us, sometimes your joy is the source of your smile, but sometimes your smile can be the source of your joy. That smile often begins in silence, in the pause between doing and being, where we realize that peace is not found in the next achievement, but in the deep presence we bring to each moment. So, begin by giving yourself permission to stop even, just for a few minutes a day. Listen inward, not with your ears, but with your heart. The whisper of change is there, waiting patiently for you to hear it. Number 2, prepare within, not just without. In a world that often pushes us to prepare outwardly, saving money, buying insurance, securing careers and prophecies, it's easy to forget that real strength doesn't always come from what we can see or touch. Yes, planning ahead and taking care of your responsibilities is important, but have you ever asked yourself, what happens when all of that is shaken? When the job is lost, the relationships are tested, or your health takes a sudden turn, what will truly keep you standing? The answer lies within you. If the vanishing power refers to things like belief, trust, or the invisible thread that connects us to one another, then no amount of material preparation will ever be enough. Stockpiles may run out, walls may crumble, but qualities like compassion, honesty, and inner clarity are what endure. The Buddha once said, "It is a man's own mind, not his enemy or foe, that lures him to evil ways." This reminds us that our most powerful defense in life is not armor or wealth, but the integrity and stability we build inside ourselves. So ask yourself, when challenges arise, do you respond from fear or from wisdom? Do you retreat, or do you stay present and rooted in what you know to be right? These questions aren't just philosophical, they're practical. Life will always have uncertainty, but if you've spent time nurturing your inner world, you'll find that you don't need to run or panic. You'll carry calm with you. You'll be able to offer comfort to others, make decisions with clarity, and move through difficulty without losing yourself. And isn't that what real safety feels like? Not the absence of risk, but the presence of inner peace. Building that kind of strength doesn't happen overnight, but it does begin with intention. When you wake up in the morning, what do you give your attention to? Are you feeding worry, or are you practicing gratitude? When you speak to others, are you being sincere, or just trying to get through the moment? These small choices build up over time, shaping who you are when life tests you. Genuine relationships, too, are part of this inner preparation. When things fall apart, it's not your status that holds you. It's the people who truly know and love you, and the people you've cared for sincerely. Are you investing in those relationships now, or are they being put aside while you chase something else? Thich Nhat Hanh wisely said, "The most precious gift we can offer anyone is our attention. Attention is what grows connection, and connection is what gives us strength." So prepare not just with supplies or plans, but with truth, compassion, and presence. Let your life be rooted in values that can't be taken from you. Because when the world outside feels uncertain, it is the depth of your inner life that will determine whether you feel lost or at peace. The message today is clear. Don't just build a life that looks secure, build one that feels secure, from the inside out. If you've made it this far, you're already beginning to sense the quiet wisdom that lives between stillness and awakening. Comment below with "Awakened Path" to affirm your journey toward deeper clarity and inner peace. Don't leave just yet. There's more gentle guidance ahead that could shift your perspective and bring light to your next step. Stay with us until the end. Number 3. Don't chase power, hold on to truth. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt tempted by the idea of power? Not just the kind of power that comes from a title or position, but the ability to influence, control, or get your way in life. It's something many of us desire at some point, thinking it might bring security, respect, or happiness. But what if I told you that chasing power can be a trap and that true strength lies somewhere else entirely? There's a quiet but profound piece of advice I want to share with you today. Don't chase power, hold on to truth. This may sound simple at first, but let's go deeper together. The mystic Vanga once gave a powerful warning. Power may not be lost because someone takes it away or destroys it. It may simply vanish because we forget it ever mattered. Imagine that for a moment. Power, when separated from truth and meaning, becomes like smoke. It looks solid from a distance, but when you reach for it, there's nothing there. It doesn't last. And in today's world, where noise often drowns out wisdom and appearances are confused with substance, it's easy to forget what real strength looks like. Have you ever noticed how quickly people can rise to fame or influence and then vanish just as quickly, their names forgotten, their impact shallow? Why do you think that happens? When we chase power for its own sake, we lose something vital: ourselves. We start living for the approval of others or for the illusion of control, instead of standing firmly in what we know to be right. And here's the thing. Power built on control, manipulation, or fear is like a house made of sand. It might stand for a while, but it can't weather the storm. So what lasts then? What holds steady even when everything around us begins to fall apart? The answer is truth, and more than that. It's the character you build by living in alignment with it. Your choices, your values, your willingness to be honest even when it's hard, these are the things that give you real strength. Not flashy, loud strength, but quiet, unshakable strength. The kind that grows over time and earns trust. The kind that brings peace instead of anxiety. Can you think of someone in your life whose presence calms you, someone who doesn't try to control you, but still somehow inspires you to be better? That's the power of truth and character in action. So instead of trying to control others, what if we focused on mastering ourselves? Our minds, our reactions, our habits. This is not about perfection, it's about awareness. When we can sit with our own discomfort without lashing out, when we can make decisions that reflect our deepest values instead of our fleeting emotions, we become truly powerful because we are no longer ruled by the outside world. What do you think would happen if more people lived this way? What would your own life look like if truth mattered more than control? Let's not forget, power, in the end, fades. But truth is something you can return to again and again. It's your compass. It doesn't shout. It whispers. And sometimes, if you listen closely, those whispers are what awaken you to something far greater than control. A life that is steady, meaningful, and free. So, I invite you to pause and reflect. What are you holding on to right now? Is it power or is it truth? And which one do you believe will carry you further when life tests you, as it always does? Number 4. Redefine what real power is. In a world constantly driven by competition, status, and dominance, we are often taught to chase power as if it were a finish line, something to conquer and display. But true power is not in the noise, the numbers, or the spotlight. It exists quietly in the background, steady and grounded. We need to pause and question what power really means. History has shown us that even the most formidable economies can crumble, not by war or disaster, but by something as subtle yet devastating as a loss of trust. When people no longer believe in a system, its structure begins to hollow from within. It may still look intact, but the essence is already gone. This isn't just about governments or corporations, it applies to relationships, communities, and even our own sense of purpose. Power that is built solely on dominance or control is fragile because it depends on others' submission or agreement to exist. The moment people stop participating, the illusion fades. In our daily lives, we may measure strength by how much we own, how far we've climbed, or how loudly we can be heard. But perhaps it's time to shift our perspective and stop asking, who's winning? That question traps us in cycles of comparison and fear of falling behind. Instead, we must begin asking, what still matters? Because that question leads us inward, toward clarity and grounded values. In modern life, especially for those of us navigating the middle stages of life between 30 and 65, there comes a moment of reckoning. The pace of ambition may begin to slow, not because we've lost energy, but because we start realizing that not everything we've been chasing carries the meaning we once thought it did. Jobs change, health fluctuates, and people we thought were constants may fade from our lives. In this space, we are invited to reflect more deeply. What actually gives life meaning when titles and applause begin to lose their luster? This is where the whisper becomes louder than the roar. The whisper reminds us that real power is found in how we respond to adversity with grace, in the way we treat those who can offer us nothing, and in the steadiness of our hearts when everything around us becomes uncertain. It is the power of integrity, of staying true to our values even when no one is watching. It is the strength of presence, of being there for someone in silence, without needing to fix or impress. These quiet forms of power do not rise and fall with the market or with social trends. They endure because they are rooted in what truly matters. So, as you go about your day, whether you're managing a team, caring for aging parents, starting over after a setback, or simply trying to find peace in a world that never stops moving, ask yourself not, how do I get ahead? But, what do I want to stand for? In a time when loud voices and fast results are praised, choose instead the path of mindful action and patient strength. That is the kind of power that sustains. It may not trend, but it transforms. And in the long run, it is the quiet, consistent force of compassion, truth, and presence that keeps the world turning, not the loudest claim to victory. Number 5. Be ready to say, now begin. If the whisper in your heart is telling you something needs to change, then maybe that's not just a soft thought, it might be your awakening quietly knocking. The real question is, will you wait until everything falls apart before you begin living with intention? So many of us get stuck thinking that clarity only comes after chaos, that purpose only rises after we've hit the lowest point. But what if that's not true? What if the whisper is already enough? When you hear that inner voice nudging you, don't silence it, don't brush it off as just noise. Instead, pause and say to yourself, now begin. That simple statement can be the turning point. Not because you've hit rock bottom, not because everything is perfect, but because you choose to respond before the storm. You choose to live not as a reaction, but as a creation. What would happen if you stopped waiting for the right time and decided that now is the right time? Would your day look different? Would your choices feel lighter, more aligned with who you really are? To begin now doesn't mean rushing forward or pretending you have it all figured out. It means taking one clear, honest step in the direction of what feels meaningful. Maybe that's reaching out to someone you've been thinking about. Maybe it's finally starting that project you've shelved over and over again. Or maybe it's simply deciding to treat yourself and others with more patience and kindness, starting today. Build something with heart, with purpose, and with awareness. These aren't just poetic words, they are a compass. Heart keeps you connected to what matters, purpose gives your path direction, and awareness helps you stay present through every twist and turn. But none of this will happen unless you decide that this moment, right now, is worth beginning from. And yes, beginnings can be uncomfortable. They often come with uncertainty, doubt, and resistance. But they also carry a quiet kind of beauty and energy of possibility that only lives in the space between who you were and who you're becoming. So I want to ask you, what are you waiting for? Is it clarity? Is it approval? Is it the absence of fear? Because often, those things don't arrive until after we've started walking. You don't need to wait until you feel brave, you become brave by beginning. You don't need to know how it all ends, you just need to trust the first step. Let today be a sacred invitation to listen more closely to what's been softly speaking to you all along. That gentle whisper isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's calling you to begin again, not because you've failed, but because you're ready to live more truthfully. The lesson here is this: life doesn't wait for your permission, it keeps unfolding. But you can meet it with open eyes and a steady heart when you stop fearing the unknown and choose to begin. Don't let hesitation write your story. Let presence, heart, and a willingness to start be the ink that shapes your next chapter. The journey of wisdom always starts with one step, and that step begins now. As we stand on the edge of June 2025, Baba Vanga's Whispering Sky prophecy reminds us, not all change arrives with thunder, some comes with silence. The vanishing power she spoke of may not be a nation, but a shift within us, a call to awaken, to reconnect, and to begin again. So let this moment be your quiet invitation. Listen closely, reflect deeply, and ask yourself, what truly matters when the noise fades? If this journey moved you, helped you see differently, or stirred something within, I invite you to support our path forward. Please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to The Journey of Wisdom. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss what comes next in this unfolding story of truth, change, and awakening. Until next time, stay mindful, stay grounded, and remember, the whisper is not the end, it is the beginning.